Well, I want to thank you all for coming to this awesome Christmas fire. And I guess I kind of want to talk about Christmas, because it's Christmas time.
It's kind of like Christmas, isn't it?
And I remember
Don't
like
be a Grinch.
working Christmas with Sarah.
We had good times.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was cold, but what
It
do you
was
think?
always cold. I remember the first Christmas Eve I had to work, and that was such a weird feeling because I had never not been at home with my family
Mama?
for Christmas Eve. What?
Where's my stick?
Your stick is right
stick.
here. But it was the first time I had never
you are.
been with my family on Christmas Eve. And growing up with my dad in law enforcement, my mom in law enforcement, it was always, we always made or scheduled Christmas around like what time dad could swing home on his break for dinner, or what time my mom would have to wake up because she worked nights. And so it was like never a big deal. We just scheduled everything around their work schedules. But like the first Christmas Eve that I had to work, I'm like, what do I do? And our tradition at our house is my dad would always read A Night Before Christmas on Christmas Eve. So my first Christmas Eve that I had to work the road that night, I sat in my squad car and I had my dad on the phone and he was reading me A Night Before
That's cool.
Christmas
Oh, that's cool.
on the phone. And it was like, it was very bittersweet because I loved it so much, but at the same time it was like, wow, this is very sad because I realized how much I missed being at home and what my parents probably had gone through.
True. But you got to spend it with me.
I did. In fact, I think one Christmas I thought maybe your brother we were window tunneling while my dad was reading The Night Before Christmas.
Actually, now you say that, I think you're right.
Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, my dad read us The Night Before Christmas. So,
Right.
Yeah.
But
on
now
the
you
phone.
get to do that with your own kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, Eli?
Right? You ready for Santa to come? Yep.
So, what advice do you have for the younger guys, Dave?
The old man in the group? What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, huh?
I'm the old man.
You are
I'm
the old man.
I think for the younger guys, always make time. Always make time for your family, even if you're working. Even if that means getting up a little earlier and being tired that night, or taking out. I mean, we're fortunate and blessed to work in a department that this town is small enough. If the call volume's down, we're usually given the okay to stop home on our break and say hi. I mean, don't lose that connection. I experienced many Christmases away from home between my time in the service and my first couple Christmases when I was working in the state patrol. I was fortunate enough to be home in the evenings, but when I became a patrol officer with Wausau, my first Christmas working was the first time since I had children that I had to work all night, Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. And I made sure I found time for my family, and it was still hard, but one of the things that helped me get through the night and just keep my emotions in check was getting to work, and the whole team, the whole shift, we're all in the same boat, and just remember that we're all in the same boat. Some people have kids, some don't, some are empty nesters, but I always found that, especially in this department, the shifts, at least with night shift, the night shift always finds time to be together because we're still the blue family, so just always remember, make that time for your family, but also remember that we have each other, and while we're on the shift, we're all missing home, and try to have fun with it. We always do the potlucks.
Yep.
Oh,
And
Yes.
a movie.
you guys still do potlucks? Because
Yeah,
I'm
we
not on the
absolutely
night
do.
patrol anymore. We get everyone together for briefing and take care of the calls in the city, and everybody brings in chow, and we get to kind of have some time together, and still go do our calls and go see other citizens in the evening. But again, I think my takeaway is just find time with your family on those days. Get up early, do something special. So your kids, if you have children, your kids are going to remember those days. Like Sarah's dad,
Yep.
reading stories and all that. I think that's the big one. I mean, anything, you're a dad, you've been doing this a little longer than me.
I mean, I remember running on coffee.
Yeah.
It's like what got me through. 'Cause,
Okay.
I mean, having at that time 2 little ones at home, and you work a night shift and then get home and the first thing you want to do is climb back into bed, but you remember, how much it means to spend time with family, and so you make sure that there's a full 12 cups in your coffee pot, and usually on the 12th one, you're still sitting in the same spot you were when you first sat down, but you just have to remember that it's totally worth it, and the time that you get with your family is time that you don't get back, so enjoy it when you can.
Andy, I think you got some of the youngest kids in the group. How's your first couple of Christmases been now working? Have you worked?
As people have now figured out, I've been with the department for 3 years. This will be, I think this will be the first Christmas where I'm not working.
Congratulations.
Right.
All right.
I am. Yeah, I am. It's either first or the second. I haven't been here long, but yeah, my kids are 7 and 2. And as far as my thoughts on working during Christmas go, I've got one good like blue family type thought, and then I've got one good off-duty family thought. And the first I'll share is, so like Mason, you're expecting now.
Yeah,
Yep.
congratulations.
So
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yep.
When my now 1 and 11-month-old child was about to be born, we had a scare, and I was working Christmas, and I think it was Christmas Day actually. If not Christmas Day, then Christmas Eve, and we were working both days. But we had a scare where my youngest, and my wife obviously, had to take a trip to the hospital because we thought he was coming early. We thought he was coming that day. So I was working that day, and then I also had to worry about my home life. Kind of dovetails nicely into the blue family bit of what where my thoughts lie, though, is like working that day, and working with the type of people that we work with in this line of work. You really, I hate to use a cliche, but it kind of hits different working on Christmas in this line of work, because you realize the men and women you work with, 7 to 9 people, your responsibility, you have so much responsibility just on a day-to-day basis. But on Christmas, most of all, because Christmas is that one day a year when you want everything to go perfectly, everything's got to go just right. And working that day, looking at the men and women that I was working with, knowing that I had some things going on at home, and I was still at work, you really appreciate, I have a responsibility to keep this community safe. I have a responsibility to go to each call with a smile on my face. I have a responsibility to restore the scene, to restore normalcy, to police with care. And the other people that I was working with that day, they had the same attitude. It makes it so much easier. The potlucks make it so much easier to get through the shift, to enjoy the shift, and then to make it home and be with family. Because we work 12-hour shifts. We don't work the whole day. Eventually we get home. And we are able to be with our family.
So, it's come out that you have your traditions, but they're going to change next year. What do you think about that?
So I'm not 100% sure how I think about that yet. I'm going to be working with a different group when it comes to coming to work and the work life, but adding a child for my wife and I it's scary. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I am very excited. We're having a girl, and I really, really wanted to be a girl dad, but there's just a lot of things that are scary. So.
Do you like coffee?
I do.
Oh, you're gonna need a lot of it.
You're gonna.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. There's gonna be a lot of coffee. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of coffee.
It's super scary, the unknown, and the whole first time being a parent thing, and I think any one of us can attest to this.
Yep.
Once they're here, that fear really goes down a couple of steps. You have to do everything you can to try and be off for her first Christmas.
Yes.
You
I
got
can
it.
do that.
You have
You
to
gotta
do that.
do it. You
This
gotta
will
do
be,
it.
like Officer Kuchenreiter said, this will be my first Christmas in the last 4 years that I'll have off.
Nice.
So this will be my first Christmas off, and generally my family, just with how busy we are and trying to accommodate for all the different Christmases with the different parts of the family, we generally don't have Christmas on Christmas. It's a lot of moving around, a couple different weekends here and there, but this will be the first time
Oh, yeah.
in a couple years that we have stuff planned all Christmas weekend.
That's awesome.
So it'll be really nice to be able to do that, and it's still going to be a lot. Cramming a lot into a one weekend, but it'll be a lot, and next year keep that going, just with a new baby.
Yep.
So, I don't know, some of the traditions that my wife and I want to keep doing are having Christmas, try to for sure have Christmas with her and my family together on Christmas Eve. We've been able to working day shift. It helps a little bit because I get done at a relatively decent time, but so that's something we're going to hopefully try to keep going.
It's a good segue that I want to bring up to you. So you've done the patrol gig, missed a lot of Christmases, came into the detective gig, probably gained a lot of Christmases. Now returning to a patrol gig as a supervisor, what are your thoughts on, you're probably going to miss a fair amount of Christmases again for a while.
True.
Is the family prepared for that?
I think so. I mean, I don't know if they're prepared for me working night shift. And I had a conversation with the family that there's going to be times where I'm going to miss birthday parties or Christmases, for example. And we've all, came to the understanding that we're going to make it work. And regardless, we're going to enjoy every second we get together. So, if we have to do Christmas on a week before, that's what we're going to do so that we can spend time together. And either way, as my daughter would say, that where there's a way, there's a will.
Oh, yes.
And so that's kind of the family motto. And no matter what, we're going to make it work. And if it requires me not to sleep and get home and spend all day of Christmas with them, that's what it's going to take. Family comes first. I'm excited, though.
Oh, you have a good time.
I mean, I'm not going to be your cube mate anymore, though.
No,
So you'll probably cry a little bit.
I'll deal with Nick. I'll cry for a little while, and I'll find solace in Nick. It'll be all right. Your shift's going to enjoy you guys, though.
So I feel like because we're talking about Christmas, we have to bring up the fact that Christmas is a great time for cookies.
I like cookies.
And so I'm kind of curious to find out what everybody's favorite Christmas cookie is.
Eli, what's your favorite Christmas cookie?
Candy cane.
Candy cane.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
What about you, Andy? Starting on the end here.
I like the thumbprint cookies with the Hershey Kiss in the center, peanut butter.
I like those.
I like them when there's peanut butter in the cookie, like a peanut butter thumbprint with a little bit of sugar on the crust on the outside. I like those. How about you, Sarah?
I love shortbread cookies, like the really buttery, crispy ones.
Yeah, those are
And
delicious.
I will clean out an entire cookie tin of those.
So I'm a simple man. Sugar cookies with vanilla frosting. I will eat my body weight in sugar cookies.
My dad is too.
Oh, it's the best.
That'd be a trooper thing.
I don't know what it is.
I think I like anything that has the word cookie in it.
That doesn't
I'm
surprise
kind
me.
of like the Cookie Monster.
You bring enough desserts into the cubicle, you sneak in and you look guilty, but then you're like,
See, I mean, I've been known because we get a lot of treats at the PD during Christmas, which is one of my favorite things. And I've kind of been known to take the entire tray, Grinch style, and just bring it right back into my desk.
We know.
So if it ever goes missing, you know where it is.
I'm not a big cookie person.
oh, get out of here.
Seriously?
No. Bye.
It's Christmas.
You have to have a favorite,
But
though.
I guess just generic chocolate chip cookies.
Okay,
works.
that's
All
right
right.
then.
If
yes.
I'm gonna eat one, chocolate chip cookies.
I like it.
Nice and simple.
This is a little dying down here, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm gonna fall in the fire, and then
Yeah.
I think the hardest Christmas. I've been blessed with a handful of Christmases where working Christmases that nothing crazy, nothing major. I think the worst Christmas call I ever had to go to was not too long after supper time, and an older man had a heart attack. And his family was going over to visit him for Christmas, and he didn't answer the door. So they ended up going into the house, and then we got called. And just dealing with that, I mean, any time that happens, obviously, it It's awful. You got to deal with the family, and you're trying to trying to give them some solace as well as answer questions and give direction and all that. And I think just it's Christmas, and this is supposed to be joy and camaraderie, and like that was probably the hardest Christmas call ever for me. What do you say on any given day, but on a particular Christmas, they're all in their car with all their gifts, and the food's getting cold in the car, and now their loved one has passed away, and the cops are all up in their business. And yeah, that was I stayed in contact with the daughter of that man for a couple of months after that, and she called and was very appreciative of how we conducted ourselves as an agency and followed up with the family and all that. But that one I think will always stick into my head for the rest of my career.
I had an individual that died around Christmas, and I remember doing life-saving measures on him, and in like my peripheral was the Christmas tree, and that was it was in the morning. It was like an early morning call, so it was like this, like it was, but I remember like the peripheral of the Christmas tree, and that was just, I don't know, that was hard. There was nothing we could do, but it was just very hard, like such a clash of emotions where you've got Christmas in the background and then sadness right in front of you. Yeah.
I think this is, I struggled with this emotionally just because, and I think you were there too. There was an older gentleman that was volunteering, and we had received a call that this older gentleman got caught stealing money out of the container that he was volunteering for. And we get up there and we talk to him, and he was polite, and I think he was scared of what the outcome was going to be, because I think he knew that he was in a little bit of trouble.
Right.
And long story short, he admitted to taking an unknown amount of money out of a container, and explained to us that he didn't have any money, and so he thought that this would be a way to make some money so that he could have some food. Well, the person he was stealing from insisted on pursuing charges, which was well within their right, but it was hard to tell this person who didn't appear to have a whole lot of money and was telling us that he didn't have a whole lot of money, and telling him that even though it was Christmas, that we still had to, follow up on that, and it wasn't right to be taking the money, but that he was going to have consequences for this. And I still remember that conversation, because it was really difficult to have on Christmas, that I know you don't have much, but you can't be taking money from here. So that was a little bit difficult conversation to have.
I remember being there with you, and we both it was probably one of the hardest arrests that we had to do, because
Right.
it just...
Like in your mind, like, I really don't want to do this, but...
No, but we have a job to do. Yeah.
On Christmas.
So kind of segueing off of that, I have another story. I know it was night shift. It was a night shift that I was working, and we got called to it was a family disturbance of some sort. And I believe it was just like it was a verbal altercation. And after talking to the couple, we didn't have enough to take anybody into custody for any domestic related charges. The fighting was just loud, and neighbors called, but we had no reason to take them into custody for those. But then come to find out that the male half... What? Well, because you're falling. The male half had a warrant. And it was it was Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, and it was nighttime. It was in the evening hours. And he had a misdemeanor warrant, and it was a minor warrant. I remember it not being like this, maybe a failure to appear or failure to pay, something minor. And I told him about the warrant, and I remember the wife looking at me, and just the sadness and confusion on her face, like, please don't take him to jail. It's Christmas. Like, we're not going to fight anymore. It's fine. Please don't take him to jail on this warrant. We'll take care of it. And I didn't have the heart to arrest this guy and ruin Christmas. Like, it was horrible. So I don't remember who my partner was or who was with me on that call, but I ended up talking to the lieutenant. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't take this guy to jail on Christmas Eve for something very minor. And it wasn't like he was gonna jump town on us. It wasn't a felony. I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't take this man away from his family on Christmas Eve. And so we didn't. We didn't.
But see, that's what's kind of cool about our profession is we have that discretion.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
the people we work with and the people we work for, our supervisors, we're all human. We can all make those decisions together and be like, hey, let's be reasonable on this. It still doesn't make it any easier in the moment.
Yeah.
That just brings up, I remember I also struggled with this, is we did a search warrant on a house for thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stolen goods from several different stores. And it was this really long, drawn out investigation, but something came about, and I think it was the week before Christmas. Do you remember, Sarah? Anyways, so we get the search warrant and we find evidence of the stolen items from the store inside the house. And in talking to the people who live there, they said that they admitted to stealing the property and that all the property we were looking for was wrapped underneath the tree.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. So
Sounds like the plot.
that was
of a
really
horror
hard because
movie.
like this were like
Home
the
Alone
presents
film or
underneath the tree. And I remember we were down in the community resources unit unwrapping all of these presents, and we had to return them to where they were stolen from. I mean, on the bright side, we made sure that the kids didn't go without Christmas, and we all pitched in and went and got presents for these kids to open up. But it was just like really hard that I'm sitting here opening these kids' presents, but I had to take them and I had to open these presents because they were all stolen.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
It's one of those moments where you're really thankful for the decisions you've made and the choice that you've made to become an officer. I also really like, even though it's a smaller measure and a smaller token, just doing the lights of Christmas and
The gift
handing
cards.
the gift cards to
Handing the gift
people.
cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I know one particular call where I provided a gift card. The person was, I think they were locked out of their car. They didn't have their keys. They were from out of town, and they didn't have money for gas. And I just so happened to have a gift card for Quick Trip. Just being able to scratch that itch for someone and give them something that they really need and
probably made
perform
their
a
whole
service.
season.
It,
The whole
it
season
did.
right
Yeah,
there.
they said so, and it like those are the moments that you go to bed thinking about.
Yep.
You know.
Well, a couple years ago, Officer Lemerand was working with a family and had found out this family were homeless and had been living out of a car. And he had made arrangements he had got them a temporary living situation at a house. But I remember him telling me about this because he had come downstairs to see if we had any gift cards and clothing supplies for the family. And I'm like, oh, of course, we've got stuff. I've got clothing. And I'm like, actually, I've got a bag of clothing in my car I was going to take to Goodwill. So that'll work out perfect. But then I started thinking, so it was Christmas. The family was going to be moving into the house on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
And I remember thinking, what happened? You good?
I don't like too hot.
You getting too hot? Here. But I remember the family was moving into,
Is this where the video fails? Oh boy.
as I fall into the fire, right? They were moving into the house on Christmas Eve. And I'm like, well, they can't move in without Christmas decorations. Like, you can't put somebody in a house without a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. That's just silly talk. So little dude and I, remember when we went and decorated that house and you helped me decorate? We got together and we found some hand-me-down Christmas decorations and a Christmas tree, and we went and decorated. I mean, it wasn't much, but we put up a Christmas tree and put up some garland and some lights, and
That's cool.
we had presents, like we
That's
had
cool.
gifts, and so that this family had some Christmas stuff to walk into for Christmas Eve, and that was very rewarding to leave them with, because I love Christmas and I love Christmas decorating and Christmas trees and lights and all that, and to be able to leave them with that, or so they could walk into a house that's furnished with warm beds and clothing and food, but to have a Christmas tree, that was very rewarding to be able to help out with that. So with my little extra decorator here.
And if you weren't doing the job that you're doing, you'd never had that opportunity.
Nope, never.
So I just want to say thanks again, everybody, for spending this time and
Yeah, this was nice.
enjoying the company. And I hope that everybody has great holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Can you say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And cut!
Also, the funny thing is I didn't record any of that.
Oh, Ethan's a jokester.
No, say no. Okay,
That
it
smells
starts,
so
be
good.
careful,
I might not
please.
wash my clothes for several months.
Okay.
This is like, yeah, this is the best.